Hi, welcome to the sixth and hopefully last of these videos on literate programming with blogdown, markdown, and various different excursions into Git and GitHub. So where I left things last time, we had a whole bunch of changes to the waffle blog that Stringer Bell is writing, and where we're at is we need to commit or stage, commit, and push all of these changes back up to GitHub. So I will quickly go and do those things now. So we kind of go tabbing over, not on my regular keyboard. So go okay. So I just hit enter to do the stage. If I go Control, Control Alt M, it will bring up the commit window for me. So I'll type my commit message over here. Customize theme. We go commit. I said commit. There we go. Notice it didn't ask me to fill it out again. My RStudio project knows who Stringer Bell is now, so that's good. Okay, yep, that's great. And we'll just push this back up. Push. There we go. Okay, so let's log in. And now I have to remember Stringer Bell's password again, because I really need to set this up. Oh yeah. Okay. Hopefully that's right. No, but I'm pretty sure I just did that wrong, because I don't remember the password. Okay, Stringer Bell. Okay, so let's try the password again. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at this. Yeah. Yep. Problem is, there's a typo in the password from when I wrote it originally, so I think it's one thing and then I type in something different. Okay, so now that's been pushed back up. Yep, that looks great. So if we now close the commit window, go back over here onto, I'm just going to, where are we? Here we go. So if we go, github.com Stringer Bell waffle blog. So if we go to Stringer Bell's Git repository, you can see, yep, I created an extra commit, I've customized the theme, good, that's doing exactly what I want. I don't have to go and publish it explicitly again. That was a one-time thing, don't have to do it again. What I am going to do, though, is mention that, whoops, here we go. I'm just going to Control C, copy the blog location. I'm going to go back over here and just go edit, and then go over there, website, save. That way on Stringer Bell's GitHub repository homepage, it now just links directly to the blog, right? So I can go over to the waffle blog, and that's what it looked like a second ago. That's what it looks like now that I've actually pushed all those changes up. And you can see it uses this new theme, and that theme actually is not too bad. Turns out to be, I think, reasonably aesthetically pleasing in conjunction with these things. It's your call, you can do things the way that you like. If we look under the post, you can see a very waffly post about waffles. Note that that's inherited the theme, so all of the pages have got the theme. This particular Hugo theme does actually let you have, each post can have its own theme if you like, but you don't have to. You've just got one general theme for the blog, that works. What we will do though is notice that this has a website, so I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to go over here to one of my favorite little websites. So this is just a Twitter. If you don't know about this, cardsdev.twitter.com/validator, but just Google Twitter card validator. It takes you here and you can check, if you've never done this before, preview card, what will this look like on Twitter? Okay, so if I share it on Twitter, it will look like this, a very waffly post about waffles. So that's actually the Twitter preview. Okay, so we are actually set up with a blog that's reasonably well functioning for a social media focused person thing. Yeah. Okay, so we've made those changes. We've staged, commit, pushed, and now it's been automatically published. We've got our blog. Okay, we know quite a lot about blogging in R now. What we haven't done, ironically enough, is used a lot of R. R is doing all of the work in stitching everything together. The blogdown package is doing all of that work for us. But what if I want to include my own R code in something? So let's go quickly edit some things, right? So I'm going to go over here, and we'll say, let's suppose I want to create, hold on, brain fade. Let me go back to my slides, go. Let's create a new blog post. So we go new post, title equals all of that stuff. I'm just going to copy and paste under regular circumstances. You would just go add-ins, new post here, and do the work there. Seriously, do it that way. That's the easiest way to do it. But if you really, really want to, kick it old school and such, then you can manually type in new post, title equals blah, author equals stringer bell, and we're going to make it an R markdown thing. I'm just going to hit enter, and bang! Okay, so now we have a new post called using R markdown. Okay, so if we go over to this is the live preview. I've just got it in the full browser tab here, which I can't remember if I've explained it originally, but if you under viewer, this is the same as that. If you click on this pop-out button, it takes you over to one of these, and these are just the same as each other. So we go from here, and we'll go look under posts and go, okay. So we have a very waffly post about waffles using R markdown. That's because I created both of these on the same day. Okay, currently this is a blank post. It just says using R markdown by Stringer Bell, who is a real person. Yeah, okay. We are going to actually want to write some content in this. So we know a lot about how to do this. I'm just going to get rid of that and go here. That'll work. Just want something nice and clean so that I can happily blog away over here. Okay, so we're ready to start blogging. The thing that we've talked about a lot, let's go to my slides, is using Markdown. So I know how to type regular text in Markdown. So I go, Stringer Bell goes over here and says, this section is in God, I hate mechanical keyboards. I'm just not used to them. It is used primarily, not exclusively, for discussion, explanation, etc. When you're writing reports or blog posts or things like that, you just want a regular text editor. Your Markdown stuff is essentially that. Right? So I'll save that. This is all, you can actually see it automatically rendering there. What if I wanted to include some R code? Like what if, strangely enough, I want to discuss an analysis, or I want to write a scientific article and I need to include a figure, or I just want to write a report? I'm going to probably want to use R for that too. Sort of half the point in a way is having this integration with R. So we can do that quite easily, in fact. All you have to do is use 3 backticks. So that's the, if I just go over here, I can go backtick, 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 not that. That is not apostrophes. These are the backticks, ones that go like that. And if I open up a squiggly parenthesis, brace, whatever we call it, and then just put the word R, notice that the background has turned grey. And I'll just do another 3 things to close it. This section here in grey is written in Markdown, in R. This here, anything inside this section here will be interpreted as R code. So if I want to include actual human readable text, I now have to specify it as an R comment. So if we go, okay, load packages, right? This is how you would normally do it in a script, right? But if I want human readable stuff, this must be treated just like it is. Just like it is our code, because it is our code. Okay. So we go load packages, and we'll go library, tidyverse, and we go save, and if we give it a second, this is probably going to refresh on its own. Let's go back over here. There we go. Okay, so what you see in the output now on the actual blog is there's this little section here that goes, okay, the comments for this blog are shown in purple. You've got library tidyverse, that's our command, and then it's showing you a bunch of things that look like our output. When we load tidyverse, if you remember, every single time we loaded it for the first time, it gives you all of these messages. I might quite often, when writing a blog post or writing a technical report, want to be clear about what packages are loaded. So maybe I really do want this code here, but I'm not interested in this part of the output. So what I can do, if I go back over here, you can customize inside here, so after a comma, this is called, so this section here is called an R chunk. And there are a bunch of options that we can specify in here. So what I want to do is go message, all those messages, those very helpful messages that tidyverse gives, and I just hit enter, by the way, to autocomplete that. So instead of message equals true, let's set message equals false, hit enter, and now we'll go save that, and we go back over here, refresh the page, and voila. So this is the things that I want you to get from this part is that this is not, I mean, it is mere text, but when the page is being generated, R is actually running, and it will execute any R commands that you type in there, unless you tell it not to. So in this case, I have actually loaded tidyverse, but what I've done is suppress the messages. So when I set message equals false over here in my chunk options, I told it just to make that a little bit quieter. Alright, so that's neat. That's actually pretty cool, to be honest. Okay, so let's go back to the slides, which I totally know where they are. Okay, so that's what we've just done. We've set the message equals false, we've made it quieter. Now what we want to do is go about writing a blog post. So let's go back over here to the cloud. So Stringer Bell would probably be typing away, and she would go, this would usually be about waffles. This is the problem with using this freaking this would usually be about a bot. I really hate this keyboard. I hate it. Okay. This is gone back to normal markdown. You can see that this is against a white background. That means this is normal markdown. So your actual markdown, our markdown document has three distinct types of things. The YAML header, which follows its rules, and that's the stuff between the three dashes. Markdown, which we talked about, right? That's where you can do all of your word processing and equivalents. You know, like you can include your images, your links, your lists, all those sorts of things there. And then you've got chunks, which you can use to run our code. And those are the areas shown in grey. Okay, so you would normally be writing a whole bunch of things, but I'm actually not going to bother. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some spaces so this goes up to the top, and then we want to go and insert a new R chunk. So there is a menu option there for insert chunk, but you'll notice there's also a keyboard shortcut. So if I just go Control Alt I for insert, I guess, it's Control Alt I, it will create that for us, which is kind of handy. And we could, if we wanted to, give the chunk a name. So notice there's no comma. When I do that, it is giving the name of a chunk. there's a fairly good reason to give your chunks names. So if you look over here, look down at the bottom thing that says there, chunk 2 picture. So our actually has this little, our studio has this nice little menu that tells you how to navigate your document. And if you give your chunks names, it's a lot easier to navigate them. I find picture a lot easier to understand. So if I go there, it navigates to picture. If I go click on there, it takes me to chunk 1, which I will now rename and call it package load, right? And the comment is driving me a little bit nuts, because usually when I write markdown, I would be going, I would usually have the things that might be a comment would actually be in the text. So I'd go first, let's load our packages, right? So we'd go down here, this would usually be about waffles, but instead I will do something boring with cars and I'm going to show you another markdown trick. MPG, notice one single backtick means format this like it is code. It will not treat it as actual R code. It will just draw it, like write it as though it is code. You can actually, by the way, if I do that, this will execute a tiny little bit of R code in there. But I don't actually want to do that. For now, I'm just going to do this and go, instead I will do something boring in the mpeg mpg data frame. And I will also illustrate, which I can't type because of this freaking keyboard, the use of inline R commands, 1 plus 4, 1 plus 6, sure. Okay, what's going to happen here is this will just be written as the word MPG. This will be run as R code. Okay, so I actually just said okay, that's a bad sign. So if I go to save it again, I'm just going to go again, let's do it on the big screen rather than the little viewer, and I'll refresh the page. Okay, so we've now got the expanded text here, and notice I've written this in a way that kind of says that my text smoothly transitions from what I am talking about to what the code is about to do. You can just use human language to do a lot of that sort of work for you. And then after loading tidyverse, I would say this would normally be a blog post about waffles, but instead I'm going to do something with ggplot. So over here, it's just saying, hey, MPG data is kind of a way of signaling to your audience that this is an R, a piece of R code. It's just not running it. But over here, when I've gone illustrate the use of R inline communes, 7. So it's actually printed the output there. So you can actually run R, like tiny little bits of R, inside the markdown document. And now what we're going to do is do a lot more R in here. But in truth, the little inline R snippets like this are just, simplified versions of what's going on in here. So if we've got, well, I've loaded tidyverse, so we'll go pick gets ggplot. I just need to bash away at these keys, like that's my problem. ggplot mpg, and of course the spacing's all wrong, plus, okay, geom point, and we will say mapping. I don't know why I've gotten back into the habit of specifying the mapping inside the geom, but I have, and it actually is annoying me. X equals, I don't know, dispel, because it's always dispel. I guess engines have displacement. God, I hate cars. I really hate cars. Y equals highway for the highway mileage. And this is a very standard plot that we'd all be familiar with, because in this class we've drawn a version of this like a dozen times. If I was being rigorous, I would be nice and help my audience by giving them the names for the arguments. So the data set is MPG, there's our geoms, you know, this is revision content. Okay, so now we are going to draw the picture, right? Right? Let's find out. We have not. As you would probably know from, you know, again, this is revision content now. All I have done there is create the pick variable. Notice, I did this for a reason. It has not appeared in the environment. See over here in environment tame, it's still got this git setup function, which I created, but I'm just going to delete that as well. Pick has not been created. Anything that happens inside your R markdown document does in a secret little environment of its own. Variables that you create at the console, right, do not exist inside your they'll exist here, they will not exist here. They do not. So if I just go, I don't know, let's go print x, right, this is going to give me an error because inside the R markdown document there is no x. I think. Assume that that's what's going to happen. Yep, there we go. You get this a lot. Okay, simple error in render page, failed to render page, blah 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 blah. And the reason, of course, is that, you know, that x variable doesn't exist. And you can even backtrace and look, error in print x, object x not found. Okay. In other words, although this is showing up in this global environment, it is not in the environment specified by your R markdown document. The easiest way to think about it is imagine that your R markdown document is spinning off its own little version of R, and it has access to any packages that you have installed on your machine, but nothing else. So you have to load packages in it, you need to specify variables in it. It has no access to the workspace. The only thing it can do is be R and have copies of whatever packages you have installed, which, by the way, you can see by looking at the little packages tab. Okay, let's make that go away. Okay, that was a point I wanted to make about you know, how R markdown works. Can we get rid of that? Control L. Okay, so what has happened in this chunk is that so this chunk has keyboard. I'm just going to stop using it. I'm going to start typing up there, no matter how absurd it looks. Created the pick variable to draw the plot. We just include the R command. This makes me feel really incompetent, the fact that I can't type. I'm not the world's greatest typist, but I swear I'm not as bad as this makes me look. So we'll just say print pick. Okay, we get to there. Again, that's not our code, that won't actually do anything, but if I just go, was it Control-Alt-I to insert, and now I'll give this one a name. We'll call this plot. So now we've got 3 R chunks, the package load chunk, the picture chunk, and the plot chunk. And then I can just go plot, or print, it should be consistent, print pick. Okay, so we save that. Now serve site is doing its magic. Yep, blah 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 blah. That's all done. So we go back over here and go. This has created the pick variable. To draw the plot, we do that. Print pick, and that gives us this little pretty or pretty ugly looking plot. Okay, so that is most of what we wanted it to do. There's a couple of things that are sort of worth highlighting about this. Again, these are just simple R markdown tricks. So realistically, I may not want this to show, right? I don't want it. What I would like is to show the results, but I don't want to show the source code, Right. What I want to do for that is go echo equals, and we'll go false. Okay. And because this is driving me nuts, I'm going to fix my typos. Chunk has created the pick variable to draw the plot. We just include the R command. Okay. And now let's go back over here and go refresh, and there we go. So that's just the text. The actual R chunk, the code has been hidden. You can see that there's no code there, and it's just printed the output for us. We can, I'll show you, this is essentially the point at which my slides stop. So if I just sort of show, the slides themselves have things that say, hey, we're done. I will add one tiny little useful thing for you. One of the things that I do like about Slumdown is this little trick. Okay, so we go library Slumdown. So that's the package that I installed that that I wrote that created these themes. One nice thing is that it comes with some, I think, built-in theme. So if we go theme, look at that, theme slum. Inside the Slumdown package, there is a theme slum command, and I think all we have to do is say character string specifying a palette, and I think all I have to do. Well, let's just, I'll start by doing this, right, which is probably bad. Let's find out if this is the right answer. Theme slum palette equals dark, right? Go, okay, let's go back over here and go refresh. Okay, you can see what this has done. It has colored the outside area with the black color, and has sort of styled the inside of the plot to kind of mirror the theme of the regular Slumdown blog. So if we went back to over here, you can kind of see that this is a reasonably appropriate way of looking at figures inside doesn't matter, inside a dark themed blog. If on the other hand I have a Kunoichi themed blog, hopefully you know where this is going. I can go back over here and then go palette equals Kunoichi. I mean, you could of course use the oh my god, bashing away at these things. You could use the regular theme commands to customize it to make it look the way that you want, but since conveniently there's, I hope, one that comes with it, and then we go refresh the page, and voila, we have something with a theme that is sort of appropriate to our blog, which I mean, some people don't care about things like that, but I sort of do. I want my figures to look like they're actually part of the page. Like, you don't need things to be ugly, right? Just because your software by default produces ugly stuff does not mean that the things that you do have to be ugly. So I'm going to, it's now bugging me, and I'm kind of go, so xlab engine displacement plus, and again we will change the label again and go ylab highway mileage, and of course we could continue with the customization and making the plot actually look as nice and pretty as we wanted to, but I've talked about that in earlier videos, so I won't go over that again. But now you've got something that looks a little bit closer to something useful. You could change the color of the dots and make your thing look really nice, but for the most part I feel like at this point the integration is reasonably complete. This looks like a decent website. You could make your plot do, or your blog post to do anything that you want with R. So that's pretty much it. The nice thing about all of this essentially is that over here in the picture chunk I created this pick object, but then I didn't actually print it down here. So this is treated as if it isn't, very much like it's an R script. So it does those things, then it does those things, and then it does that, and then you're all done. And so from here, I would effectively have a new post, and just because I can, I will end all of our pain and suffering by going over to Git, and we will just go commit. Okay, there we go. Add RMD post. I realize that that's not the most helpful message ever. We're committing that. Good. Push that up. I'm just going through the process again. Oh god, I forgot about this bit. On my machine, I have this set up so that it automatically uses my SSH thingy. I'm tired, I'm sorry. Hopefully this is still somewhat coherent, and I have to remember Stringabell's password because I don't actually use her account very often. Okay, so we've pushed that back up, so we should now be able to kind of go over here and close that. Here is the actual so let's just go to the waffle. Oh my god, sorry, that's F12, because F12 on the mechanical keyboard is located roughly perceptually where I am expecting the delete key to be, and I am fine with this. I am very fine. I am taking it well. Okay, and now we have Stringabell's blog. I could have edited the front page as well. I will leave that as an exercise for you to do, but if you want to, I will show you just to quickly go over under the files pane, go under project. Okay, so we go content, index, that's your home page. So over here is where you would go to edit that to make this actually Stringabell's blog. And over here is what you would do to edit the about page, but basically once you've done those things, you're completely up and running. Okay, so I'll leave that to the future and say we've got all that done. Your card previews, we have that all set up, so we have a completely successful blog, and we can celebrate and eat cake. And with that, I'm going to let this horrible nightmare end. I hope it has been somewhat useful to you. If not, I apologize. If you want to, this is just the beginning of the kinds of things you can do using R markdown, and definitely the beginning of the things that you can do with Git and GitHub. The point of this series has just been to kind of get you introduced to several of these things at the same time, hopefully not in the most confusing way in the world, and in the process give you the tools to create a website, which is kind of handy thing to be able to do with R, I think. But anyway, I'll let you go. Thank you for watching. I don't know, the young people say things like click on subscribe and like. No. Go!